Check audio. All right. I think I can hear myself. Can you hear me? Oh, hello, friends. Oh, this over to here. Bring this up here. Hide this. Okay. Give it a few minutes. I say a certain time, and people filter in as the next few minutes come in. So we'll leave it there and just let a few people come. Just bringing up their help documentation to see if there'd be anything that I would add to it. Um, all right, those couple of minutes are passed by. So hello everybody. My name is Matt Goins. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the one who emails you all the things within the WiscWeb service. And this is another little session of what I have dubbed Learn with Matt. Basically, these are just little one-off things where someone's asked a question or there's been a common theme amongst questions that have come in, and I'll just decide to do like a little one-off stream training session like this. So this week we're going to chat about gravity forms. Do I have a microphone? I mean, sometimes I might lean back. My microphone is it's all right. Good quality. Might just be me. Um, So this week we're going to chat about gravity forms. Got a few questions in about how to do certain things recently. I have some notes here that I want to go over. Maybe my notes are here now. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay. I've gotten some emails in recently to do some different things with gravity forms, and I figure, well, let's kind of show everybody what it is that I do with gravity forms. Whenever people ask questions, just some interesting things that I find to do with gravity forms, and maybe some new things that people haven't um, learned about themselves. So first things first, whenever it comes to plugins, um, one of the common questions that I get is a person will email in and they'll be like, we'd really like to turn on gravity forms for our site. And I'll go and I'll check and, oh, they have gravity forms turned on, but the user is an editor. And so just make sure to remember that anybody that you add to your site, if you want them to have access to any of the plugins within your site, you have to set them to an administrator level for your site. I mean, honestly, the difference between admin, there are two differences that I can see between admin and editors. One is they get access to the plugins. The two is they get to manage users. Those are the two big significant ones. I'm certain there are others, but most of the time you trust who you add to your site to do the things that they need to do. So, but they do need to be an admin. So, Gravity Forms is one of the plugins that we have made available for you to activate or deactivate as you see fit. You can activate it by clicking on plugins over here on the left, and it will show up as a plugin that you can activate. I don't want to click on it because I'll see everything in the list. So one of the things to note for those of you who have been longtime Gravity Forms users is there was an update, I would say maybe a couple of months ago, that changed a lot of the interface of Gravity Forms. It also changed the icon over here on the left for Gravity Forms. So now it's this little G in here. So to access your forms, you simply click on Forms on the left. I figured I was going to do this from basic to a little more complicated, just to kind of go through some of the things to think about as you're building just a general form. So, I guess to start with, when you're in your forms list, you will see all of your forms here. There are a number of other options over here that we'll get into as we kind of go through this this morning. But to add a new form, you simply click Add New. It will prompt you for a form title. So let's just say website questionnaire. And please let us know how our site is doing. And then I'll say create form. And so here's the first big difference for those of you who haven't looked at Gravity Forms in a while. This interface is entirely different than what it used to be several months ago. So a lot has changed in the visual aspect of it, but the general use of it, the general creation of it is still pretty much the same. You click on some things over here on the right side. Let me collapse this guy real quick and zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better in the stream. You click on some things over here on the right and you add them over here on the left, and then you can move them around, set some settings for them, things of that nature. So my first form is a website questionnaire. So what kind of questions would I ask, or what kind of things would I need from this form? So I suppose I would start by going down to advanced fields, and I would I would add name. I would probably add an email address, and then since this is a sort of questionnaire type thing, I might add some paragraph text to this. So paragraph text is, why'd you break? Is that because I zoomed out? Hey, learn with Matt. That's because I'm zoomed out. Gets weird. Okay, we'll do it that way. So you want a paragraph text because you might want them to type in a lot of things. Or if you don't want a lot, if you just want like a really quick answer, you might just do single line text and just, do a basic, give us your initial thoughts on our site, that kind of thing. Let's go with paragraph text, however, because I just want to show that one. So again, as you can see, I'm just clicking over here on the right. It's appearing on the left. So let's kind of go through now what we would do once we've added some fields to the actual quote unquote form area to start with. So once I click on one of these over here on the left, you'll notice that over here on the right, it will display the settings for that particular field that I added. So for a name field, the label defaults to name. I could put in here name optional. Maybe you want people to either be able to give their name if they want to, or keep it anonymous. I could add a description to this. I won't because name is pretty obvious there. I could make it required. I'm not, since I'm making this an optional field. I'll leave it as not required. There are some placeholders in here. So for example, I might type in first name, and then in this one, I might type in last name. The placeholder values are more for prompting people to type something into there. So we've got that. The field label is this. It goes top aligned by default. The description placement goes below. We'll see that when we get down here to untitled. I'm sorry, to the paragraph text. I don't tinker with these too much. The custom validation message. Okay. Well, let's get back to that. That's an interesting one that we can work on there. Okay, so then advanced. Um, I can add in some default values if I wanted to. I could also make it visible, hidden, or administrative, and we'll get into those in a little bit as well. And then there's conditional logic. Again, we'll chat about that stuff in a little bit here. So, all right, I'm good. Name optional. Email, again, nothing really. I don't know, valid email address. Nah, I don't really want to put that in there. If this was somebody that I was asking for this at campus, I might go first name, first dot last at wis.edu or something like that, like to create the prompt of like, what email address do I actually want from you? But since this might be something where I want a more general population to see, I won't put that in there as well. Field size, large, this just kind of goes with like, how much room do you want to give them in the field to fill this out? This is more of a visual prompt than anything else because, you know, it's an email address. Usually it's going to be something short and sweet. So I might go medium just because I don't want to create an assumption about length of first names and last names or length of particular email addresses. So I might go medium to just provide room to say you've got room to type it in, but this is the space. Let's see. Anything for general? No. I might say, please enter a valid email address. And then you'll see that description goes there. We'll come back around to that in a little bit. Again, I could make it required. That's up to you if you wanted to. Again, anonymity, that type of thing. And then we get down here and we'll say feedback. And then description, I might say, please provide us with your thoughts on our website. Let us know what we can do better. All right. I could put in a maximum characters if I wanted to. I'm terrible at this, so I can't really think of like what a maximum character might be. I don't know that I want to limit anyone to this. Required. This one I will make required because it's the purpose of this form. I want you to fill out the feedback. So then if I go down to appearance, any placeholder, no, I'm not going to worry about any placeholder there. Just, all that stuff. So now the custom validation message. So what would happen? And again, I'm doing this with a very basic field. It's a text field. Um, but what would happen if you have a custom validation message is you could put some sort of prompt on the screen to help guide someone who clicked the submit button but didn't fill everything out for like the required area. You could put a custom validation. So I might put in here, you seem to have forgotten to provide us with your feedback. Please do so. Okay. Um, let's see. Field size, again, this is just more of a visual than a whoops, get back here. Visual rather than a limitation there. Advanced. Let's see. Default value, don't need to worry about that. I want this to be visible. So this one's a tricky one. I don't know if I could log into my other user account. There is the option for text-based fields to allow for what's called the rich text editor. And the rich text editor is the ability to add in things like bolding, italicizing, some of these more formatting type things that you could put into a text area. I mean, it's just tricky because of the fact that do you want people to be able to um, uh, do you want people to be able to sorry, I have a child running into here, so I have to close the doors. Working from home. Uh, if you want people to be able to do those types of things and put in any of that special functionality, guess we'll see when I actually like type in there what types of things they can do, can't do within the rich text editor. But that's just to be aware of that. Like, do you want them to be able to bold, italicize, all that stuff? All right. And then we'll leave conditional logic alone because I've got other stuff to demo for that stuff. Okay. So that's pretty simple. I'll click update. Always make sure, think of this like a Word document, anything of that nature, save often. This is where if you were to click away from this and not have saved this form, you would lose the work that you did. So again, save often. Also, it doesn't tell you up here, it tells you down here that you saved. So just be aware of that. I have gotten into the habit of looking up here because in our pages, this is where it says you've published the page, etc. So that's the first thing to work on with just a simple form. Add fields, add what you want to have, what you want to get from your audience, and then save it. So now we have to do a couple of other steps to make it possible for this form to actually perform. So the first thing we'll touch on is we'll hover our mouse over settings and we'll click on form settings. So in here, just a few basic things. You could change the title if you needed to, the description if you needed to. Now the layout part. So the form layout part, this is where you might want to go in and say, you know what? I don't want any of my descriptions to be below the inputs. I want them to be above the inputs because in my mind, I go label, description, input. So I always want things above the inputs there. Sublabels, things like that, I'm not going to worry about that. The form button, the submit type things, you could say, click to submit, that kind of thing. So submit is going to be the default. Submit is usually what we are used to, but it might be a different type of form. So you might say, request if it's some sort of like informational request form or something like that. So I'll leave it as submit, but just be aware of the fact that you can edit that button value if you so desire. Conditional logic, again, we'll get back around to that. Enabling save and continue. We'll touch on that in a little bit here. Scheduling the form, I could make this form available during a particular time frame if I want to. Don't worry about the require user to be logged in. And I'm not going to worry about any of that stuff. So, save settings. I have updated my settings. So, again, this step is just basically look and feel. How do I want this sort of to look in the grand scheme of things? So the next thing is confirmations. So a confirmation is, what does the user see on the screen when they click the submit button? And the default confirmation is just, a lot of you have probably seen this in whenever you do anything with our forms, our request a site, launch request, things of that nature. You can change this to be a little bit more informational if you want to. So thank you for contacting us. We will be reviewing your valuable feedback and will implement any changes that are deemed necessary. I guess that's kind of a snarky one, but you guys know me. And again, you can see you have some options here for general text area stuff. So, maybe I add media and I put in, a little shot of Bucky here. Bucky Badger. Let's just say waving hello. Let's center it. Let's make it a medium-sized image. Let's not link to anything. Insert into the post. So there you go. And so, that's, again, this is more of just customization of what a person might see when they are clicking that submit button. Again, this is that initial visual element and reference that they successfully clicked the button and successfully submitted the form. Now, whether or not it has gone through the process of reaching someone, that the user won't see here. So, okay, I'm happy with that. And then the last thing to touch on is the notifications. Now, notifications are exceptionally important because of the fact that this is how you funnel these submissions to the people who you think need to get them. So by default, when you create a new form, you get an admin notification. So I'm going to go in and edit that. It is its default name. It prompts you to enter the email that you want this to send to. So again, this is the biggest thing to remember about the notification process is this is a send to process. This is the email that gets created and sent through our email system to whomever it is that is set in this field right here. So the send to email defaults to the admin email of your site. Now, the admin email of your site is usually going to be the person who requested the site. So, for example, I'll look at Linda in the chat. So, Linda requests Wiseman sites on I shouldn't say a regular basis, but she has requested a number of Wiseman sites. When she requests them, she becomes the admin of those. She might not be the primary person that would be responsible for everything that goes through those sites, but she would be listed as the admin of that site. So you want to make sure that if it needs to go to a particular person, you need to update this to be that particular person. So just remember that. That's That's a lot to say to basically just say, make sure you update this to be the appropriate email address you need it to go to. Could be a service account, could be a Google group, could be an individual person. Just make sure that you send it to the required person. So, from name, who do you want to see this as? So, usually what I do is if I'm the person receiving a form from the site and I have prompted for the name, I'll actually go over here to this little icon right here and um, uh, hold on to that question because I'll get into that in a second. Um, so what I can do is I can click on this little bracketed dots here, and these are where you get the merge fields. And the merge fields are the form fields that you have requested. So if I click on that, you'll see a whole list come up with a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's a lot of stuff in there that you might want to look at. But basically what I'm looking at here is, well, I want first name, and then I'll put a little space in there, and I'll say last name. And that's that. That's now one of the things that I've noticed. I'll bring up my WiscMail over here just to test it. Sorry, have to authenticate. One of the things that I noticed yesterday when I was testing out some Gravity forms, so I have an update in our dev environments for Gravity forms that I was testing. One of the things that I noticed is when I receive this through my WiscMail account, this doesn't populate. When I receive it through a Gmail account, this actually does. This from name stuff does populate. So well, I'm going to take a look at that and tinker with that a little bit to see if it works now, but we'll see. Okay. So again, so I can populate this and put in any information I want from there. So the from email. So this one's a big important one because of the fact that we run our email services. Essentially, this process runs from your website, which is hosted on AWS. It sends the email through the AWS functionality to our campus email system and then subsequently down to Office 365 into your email inbox. I don't remember when we had to worry about this, but it has to have been at least what 3 years since we moved to AWS. Um, we had to make sure that this from email value it defaults to admin email. This from email field has to say no reply at email.wiscweb.wisc.edu. And the reason why it has to say that is because it has to have a particular email address that is quote unquote accepted. And I don't know all the terminology here, but it has to be accepted by our mail servers to then send through Office 365 so that you can receive it. So there's that whole line of your website to AWS to Campus Office 365 to your inbox. It works because we have this email address set up, and I mean we have it set up so that that happens automatically. I still want people to be in the habit of typing that into here regardless, but just be aware of that. So then what I'll do is I will actually, because this has to be the from email, I will actually set it up so that the reply email would be the email field that I ask for in the form itself. So that way I still have a reply to functionality so I can click reply. If somebody sends in a form of like a question, I can just click reply and it will go back to the person who it replied to. If I needed to go to blind carbon, anybody blind carbon on this, I could do that as well. I don't usually worry about that too much. And then the subject, again, you could have a little more flavor to this subject if you wanted to. You have received feedback about your website. I should probably not do that because that'll probably be a security thing. And again, this is what I'll see when the email comes through. So, okay, that's my notification. I'll click update notification, and there we go. And that's it. That's how you set up that notification so that it will send to, and I customized it a little bit. You send to all that jazz. So those are the basically that's the 4-step process for creating a form. Create the form, give it a name, a description, and populate it with whatever fields you want people to fill out. So that's step 1. Step 2, take a look at your form settings, make sure that they're the way that you want them to be, the submit button is what you want it to be, etc. Step 3, take a look at your confirmations. Do you want to edit the confirmation at all? Anything of that nature. Step 4, notifications. Where do you want this email notification to go to once a person clicks the submit button? So that's it. Again, we're doing simple right now. We'll get into like the question that was asked about going to multiple emails. We'll get into that in a second. So I have my form created. Let's bounce out to our pages. Let's just create Learn with Matt form. Scroll on down, click into my text area. And for those of you who haven't noticed it, you have an add form button right there on your text area. I'm going to select the form that I want to show up. Nope. All right, we'll click insert form. There it is. Title is true. Description is true. I want the title to appear. I want the description to appear. And then I will click publish. Ta-da. Okay. So now let's bounce out to that right there. And here it all is. Here's so yep, you get your basic text editor right there. Okay, so first name, Matthew Goins. What's your email address? matt.goins@wisc.edu. Your feedback. Let's just grab some stuff here that we can tinker with a little bit. So, okay, so let's go. You know what? I want this one to be bolded. This one in heading 3. Yeah, there you go. All right. All right. So all that's done. I click submit. And then there's the confirmation that I edited. So now there you can see, this is what I see when I click the submit button. So bounce over to my email. And let's pull this and get over here. And so now there you'll see. And it actually came through this way. Let's trick this one. I wonder why it wasn't working in QA and it is working in production. But we'll take it. So what you can see is the from field populated there. It sent it to me. Here's the name. Here's the email address. And then here's that information that I put into there. And then if I click reply, it automatically populated the to field because I had that reply to email set up. So it worked. Ta-da. Okay. So that's it. That's how we start with the simple one. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the more complicated complicated is as hard as you want to make it. So long as you have a plan. And honestly, whenever I'm doing any of these things, so I've been working with one site where they have a number of conditional logic steps set up based off of particular radio buttons that are clicked. I mean, if you look at the form as a whole, you're going to get thrown off. It's going to confuse you. But if you just take things step by step, here's what I want them to say here. Here's what I want to happen when they click here. Here's the information that I need once they've clicked on those things. It's okay to draw that stuff out, map that stuff out. Don't just sit down and just start throwing things onto a form and expect it to work if you're going to make it more complicated. Have a plan and then put that plan in motion. So that being said, let's start talking about this. So let's do language questionnaire. Please tell us about the languages that you speak. All right. So this is going to be based off of the form that I have been working on with the Asian Languages and Cultures site, ALC. So I'm going to kind of recreate that a little bit here to show you a little bit of how the conditional logic aspect of this works. So first things first, you're going to kind of go in and I always have some standard fields that I put in whenever I create a form. So name and email, always. For whatever reason, it's when I create a form, I automatically know I want your name, I want your email. If you're going to give me some information, I'd like to know who you are and how I can get in contact with you more. So pretty straightforward there. I would make these required. Then I can go up here and I can start to look at some other types of things that I might want to ask in this case. You know what? I'm going to see that. Well, let's see. Got it. Let's bring up this form quick. Just because I want to make sure that I actually create it the way that I'm telling you. Language background questionnaire. So to kind of see it in action, I'll bring it over here. But so this is Asian Languages and Cultures. They have a number of languages that they cover within their program. They have a questionnaire that they have prospective students fill out. Name, all this information here. And then they have a number of fields that they want people to fill out. One of them is this drop down right here, which is choose the language that you are interested in placement in. And so when you click on one of these, a number of other things appear based on that choice right here. So let's go in and let's create that drop down. So let's say, what language are you interested in placement? For placement. Okay. And again, I'll make this required. So now let's say first choice. Let's say Mandarin, Chinese, Vietnamese. All right, so we'll just go with those three just because we'll keep it. Get back here. We'll keep it simple. We'll keep it safe. So a couple things here that I want to kind of touch on is I've set it to be required. I've added the values. To add more, you just click on the little plus sign right there. If I go to appearance, here's a spot where I would want the placeholder to come into play here, because if you'll notice, the first dropdown automatically defaults to the first value that I set, which was Hmong. So I want to say, please choose from the list below. And that's it. So that way now I'm prompting, again, I'm creating a visual prompt for the user to do something there. Let's go back to settings, please. I keep clicking off. I apologize. And then here, I'll do this with this field in particular. Let's say, please be sure choose a language and fill out the rest of the form. Okay. Field size. Oh, sorry, I keep clicking off of it. Let's keep it small. I think everything is pretty straightforward. So those are the first three questions that I put in there, and now what I want to do is start adding in some of that conditional logic that I have set up in this questionnaire right here. So let's add. I'll call them I call it a section header. It's called a section break here. I don't know. I just call it a section header. But basically, what I'm going to do is I am going to call this, let's say, Hmong questionnaire. And then I'll say, oh, please tell us more about your background with the Hmong. Okay. Okay. And so now, advanced, it's visible. So now I'm going to click into conditional logic. And this is one that is the big difference between what was and what is now with gravity forms. So I'm going to click on the little slider to enable this. And I want to show this if, why is my screen so weird right now? I want to show this if what language you are interested in is set to Hmong. I apologize. I don't know why it's doing this. This is weird. It shouldn't be doing that. So anyways, I want this to show if this is set to Hmong. So the reason why I do this for a section break is I basically want to create a whole section of questions that show only if this particular requirement is met. So now what I can do is I can go in and I could say, let's go with a radio button. Well, I'm having some graphic issues here. Is it because of this? Let's click update and let's see if I can hard refresh this. There, now I go. I couldn't get that scroll bar over there on the side there. Okay, so now let's say, let's see, level of, what's the question? Indeed. So, did you study Hmong in school? Yes. No. Get rid of this one. I'll bounce this over here so I can actually look at it while I'm typing these things in. Let's see. Add another radio button here. Did you complete an exam for this? Yes. No. Delete. So, okay. And then maybe just a paragraph text. Tell us more. Tell us more about your interest and background in. All right. So there we go. So now I've got this all set. Again, if you remember, I set up the section break to be required or to be conditional based on the choice here. And now I've got all of these sections here this section set up based on that particular conditional logic. So now what I could do is I can add another section break below that. And let's say, what were my options? Mandarin Chinese. So now let's go. Apologize if I am not, I think it's Mandarin, but I'm just going to do a quick copy paste for this. Language, appearance, don't need to worry about that. Let's see, conditional logic, again, I'm going to set conditional logic on this, drop down, what language are you interested in? This will show if Mandarin Chinese is set. Okay, and so now, again, same idea here. I'm going to add some fields. Let's get radio button. And I'm going to point something out to you all in a second here. Did you study in school? Yes. No. Delete. Fields. Take exam. Yes. Delete. And paragraph. All right. So one thing I want to point out here is, and this is actually something that I've seen a number of people do when they put conditional logic on sections or on particular fields, um, is if you copy and paste something that is based on another conditional logic, your copy will be that same conditional logic. And then everything that exists within it will be based on that conditional logic. So like if I were to click on duplicate here, the duplicate will maintain all of that conditional logic. And people don't realize that. And so they'll go in and start tinkering with their form and things won't appear as expected because the choice that you made has the wrong conditional logic set up. So that's why I did all of that manually. And again, tedious but quick. I mean, that wasn't difficult. I did a little bit of copying and pasting of the text, but it's not that difficult to go through and do that quickly. But that's why I did it manually. I did not want to run into any issues with um, uh, that that duplication of the conditional logic. So okay, so let me update this, and we'll just because of time, I want to make sure that I keep going through here. So again, I've got the various things on here that I have set up. So let's go settings, confirmations. I'm just going to leave as is. Actually, let's go to form settings real quick because I do want you guys to see one thing. Let's go description above, save settings. One of the things that I had been doing in if you click edit up there, you get back to there, that I had been doing is so if I do, we're interested to know about the language you hope to continue to study here at UW-Madison. So I kind of like to make these stand out a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll italicize those. I don't know why I do that. It's just a me thing, but I've been leaning on doing that a little bit more. I could italicize and bold. But I mean that's a choice there. You know, it's a me thing. That's all I'm gonna say is I am leaning more on doing this type of thing these days, just because I want this to stand out a little bit more from this. So that's that. All right, so back to settings. Confirmations, just gonna leave as is. Form settings, I just changed that one thing, and then notifications. So same idea here. I'm gonna go in, edit the notification. Let's send it to me. So from name, name first, name last. From email, no reply at email. That was good. You. The reply to email is going to be the email address that they put in there. New submission, all of the fields, update notification. So, okay, I have created that first notification. But, and I think I did this for Kelly. I think we did this for some of your forms way back in the day. But I also have been in the habit of recommending to people, if you are requesting information from someone and it's a lot of information, I like the idea of sending an email back to the person who is submitting it, letting them know what it is that they have submitted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another notification and say response to submitted. And I'm going to send it to, and I'm going to click on select field here, and I'm going to send it to the email that they enter into the field itself. And now what I can say is from name, Matthew Goins, Department of Languages and Stuff. From email, no reply at email.wiscweb. You reply to, well, because I'm technically the one quote unquote sending this, I'm going to say I want the reply to be my email address. So that way that's pretty straightforward there. Blind Carbon, thank you for your submission at the language page form. And then down in the message, I could say, thank you for taking time to lorem ipsum la la la. We'll just go with that right there. So I can put in there a lot of just general information about this. Please see your entries below and contact us if you have any changes that need to be made. And then I will put in just a little horizontal line. And then over here on the right side, there's this little merge tags thing. I'll click that and I'll just put in all fields because I want them to be able to review everything that they submitted. So update notification. And now I've got 2 notifications going to 2 different people. So Alex, to come back around to your question, can you have it go to multiple emails? I have had limited success in putting in different emails, like using the comma here. Basically, if I needed to go to different emails, I'm going to basically duplicate this admin notification and I'm going to put in, so here's admin notification copy 1, and I'll just say admin notification, and let's say I need this to go to Jenna. And so now I'll instead send the email to Jenna's email address or Kelly's email address, anybody of that nature. I will do it that way. It might make this a little more burdensome, but it works, and I know it works, rather than trying to tinker with multiple emails in that particular field. So that's how I do having it send to multiple emails. So let's see, is the no reply specific to WiscWeb? I believe it's specific to, and I guess I don't know if you would know this answer, Jenna, but I think it's specific to our AWS install, and like there needs to be something for sites that might be hosted, and I don't know this for sure. The no reply at email.wiscweb is specific to WiscWeb because it's sending through our site. I don't know how it works for somebody who hosts elsewhere on our AWS platform, so that would be are like Cal's School of Education and anybody on web hosting. That I don't know. Um, but if you're local, yeah, I don't know. So that's the thing is, well, I'd have to follow up on that. That might be something where I'd like you to send me an email so that I can follow up on that for the answer because I don't know. Yeah. So Jenna's in there too. So, okay. So again, all I've done now is admin notification, got that one set up. Response to submitter, I've got that one set up. So we're good to go there. I think the form is okay. So now let's go throw it on a page. So let's go back into here. Let's go to pages. Learn with Matt form. Let's just add a whole new layout here. Add a text block. Add the form. Language questionnaire. Insert the form. Update the page. I said update the page. There you go. Okay. And then let's just bounce out to this right now. And so here's this form. So let's just go. This is going to be a whole lot of Matts flying around. So let's go Bob, Ross, email. You. Okay. Oh, see, so I didn't set this up correctly. So you can see it's showing the Hmong right away. And I think, yeah, so I'll have to tinker with that. But you can see, so nothing's showing when I do Hmong. So I need to take a look at that. And so let's see. So Mandarin does work. This is showing up when I have that choice. I wonder if that's when. All right. So, well, let's do this with Mandarin just because I know it works, and then I can go back and you guys can see me troubleshoot. Okay. So, did you study in school? Yes. Did you take an exam? Yes. Tell me more. Lorem ipsum. Blah blah blah. Hi. Ah. Okay. So I have all of this set. Let's actually take out the email. Let's. I wonder if this is going to kick back to me or not. Yes. Yes. Okay. Submit. Does it error? Yep. So I just wanted to show this because I wanted you guys to see that custom validation message. It'll tell you there was a problem with your submission. And then here's that custom validation message on that particular field. So again, useful for those fields that you're going to set as required if you really need to like sort of quote unquote help someone along there. So, all right, so Bob Ross, Matt Goins at WiscWeb. Let's do Mandarin Chinese. Yes, yes, bang, bang, bang. Okay, so that works. Let's go submit. Notice it doesn't take me away from the page. It just updates the section um, to that particular area. But then here's my other form that I have on there as well. So, okay, so let's go bounce over to email quick and let's bring these over. And then, all right, so first, here's the one that Matt, as the admin of the site, receives. It's just, it's from that person. Name, here are all the forms. Here is the section break, so you can kind of see how it stands out just a little bit. Study in school, yes, etc. So there's all that. So let me close this. And here's what you get as the submitter of that particular form. So here's all of that information that I put in up at the top. Thank you for taking the time to blah, 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 blah. Please let us know if you need to make any changes. And then here are the submitted fields down below. So now I have created a form that goes from you to me as the submitter and also from me to you as the submitter. So I've created a form that has multiple notifications. It has some conditional logic in there, um, that kind of stuff. Can you provide a link to someone that is using forms? I mean, let's start with. I mean, it all depends on about what you want to do with your forms. So, like, I literally went out and did a Google search for like creative ways to use forms, and it's just a lot of like visual type stuff to create forms, things that we just can't do with Gravity Forms. There's lots of people who use forms. Really, at the end of the day, it's what type of form do you want to build? So, I mean, WiscWeb, we have several types of forms. We have our request a new project form. We have a form in the launching area. We have our customer support form that has some conditional logic in it. Uh, you know, so there's conditional logic there. Oh, let's see. Let's see. I can't remember your where your big form is, Kelly. Station use. I know. So the limnology. Oh, here it is. So the reservation form. So this is a depending upon how much it has changed over the past couple of years. This was probably the first quote unquote big form that I helped someone build, and with Kelly, and it just has it has some general questions in there. Um, uh, Housing needs. So yeah, so Kelly has some check boxes in here that have conditional logic on them, and some captcha. I'll talk about captcha in a second here. Gosh, let's see. Housing. I'm going to talk a little bit about this one that the housing site uses, but I'm not sure where it might be. Yeah, so housing has one, and again, you can kind of see they have some conditional logic set up in there. So I mean, there's several sites that use forms. At the end of the day, it's one of those where it's like, what do you want to do with the form? Let's chat about that a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Let's go out to. I talked in previous. So let's go to WiscWeb.wis.edu because it takes a little bit to set it up, and I know I've talked about it in the past. All training videos. So I think if you go out to our Whisk website, go under training and then all training videos. I have a couple of Gravity Forms videos out here. This one's really just the basics. The more with Gravity Forms, I think in this video I talk about using a form to generate news articles. There's also you can use a form to populate a WP data table. So for example, um, if I go down here and I create a WP data table, and let's see, existing source. Let's see if that's the one. I might not have the plugin set up. Yeah, so we do have um, Gravity Forms integration for WP data tables. So now if I go down, create a table, existing data source, Gravity Form, language questionnaire. Choose which fields to show as columns. So name, email, and language that you're interested in. Click Save Changes. And there you'll see it populated based on that information that I have pulled from a gravity form that was submitted. So let's touch a little bit on. Let me go bounce over, see if there are any questions. Conference reservations. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. Long drawn out pause as I think about this one and take a drink. No, let's do this. Let's go up to forms. I can't think off the top of my head. Um, yeah, I can't think of off the top of my head what this is. Let's just do conference reservation, form description, conference reservation information. All right, so let's create the form. So let's do a little bit of theater of the mind here. So let's say, for example, I create a page, and on that page, let's say 2-column layout, text block left, text block right, center, Control B, day 1, center, Control B, day 2. Matt would create a WP data table, or he would hand code a table in HTML into here and just put all that information in there. Matt, with 30 minutes left in this training video, is going to put in just some general stuff. Oops. Let's do this because I'm quite a smart little cookie. Day 2. All right. I'm going to get rid of these 2 layouts just to kind of, for the purpose of this question, just to get rid of the other things. So okay, so I'm going to create a page. I'm going to have however many columns, 3 columns, 2 columns, 1 column, laying out what a particular conference is going to entitle. Or entail, not entitle, entail. So now what I could do is, let's update this page just for that purpose. So now what I'm going to do is, I want the conference reservation. So let's go with, again, the basics. Name, email. Couple things that we can't do with our Gravity Forms functionality and WiscWeb in general. We cannot collect payments. We cannot hook up with external reservation sites or anything of that nature. So by doing it this way, I, Matthew, am the one who is managing this, or whomever I send this email to is managing this functionality. This will actually get into a question that was asked to me through email, that I'll touch on here in a second. So, okay, name, email. Let's go with address, phone. No, it's bugged out for me again. Here we go. Okay. All right. So name, email, address, phone. Let's go over here to email, or to address. Some of these things I might want, I might not want. I might not want country, zip code, city, all that stuff. Okay. So these would be the basics. Who are you? Let's throw in a section break. Conference reservation information. details. Don't need to worry about this so much. And not going to put any conditional logic on there. All right. So, conference reservation details. So now what I'm going to do is I'll put in radio button. Let's see. Choice of, please let us know what day you are planning to attend. Day 1, day 2, both. All right. I would obviously set some of these as required, etc. Let's see. Day 1, day 2, both. I'm terrible at this because since I don't build these kind of forms until someone like gives me the information, can't think of like what other types of things you would ask for in a reservation form. Let's go with another thing I could think of. As my brain just kind of went into this, so I'll do a radio button. Will you need lunch? Yes. No. Remove. I mean, my brain can start to go down a bunch of different roads of like, okay, do you want to provide them? Like, part of this is like the notification that gets sent back to them. So, like, are you staying? Are you staying in Madison for both days? If that question was answered yes, I might send them a notification that is um, filled with like interesting details about Madison and that kind of stuff. Um, so let's try it. Let's try radio buttons. Are you staying in Madison? Staying in Madison both days. Yes. Delete. Okay. So update. Pretty straightforward. It I could put in some check boxes. Let's see, what is your area of interest? Apples, oranges, grapes, that kind of thing. So update. All right, so settings. I'm going to put something in here real quick just because I want you all to see it. There's a consent option that you can put in here. And you can actually, so this isn't the right form for this. A consent policy is, it's a reservation detail. You could basically say consent. I agree that all of the information I have entered is accurate to the best of my knowledge. Hopefully you've all seen these kind of things there. So, okay, so I could say that one's required. Okay, and update. All right, so settings, I'm not going to worry about form settings. Actually, I will, because let me show you something. One of the things that I would, for those of you who like look to collect information and basically want people to sign off on the fact that they are being accurate with that information and to create a paper trail of yes, I agree, I could enable on the submit button, I could enable conditional logic to show if the consent is checked. So the submit button only appears if that particular field is checked. You can't submit it unless you agree to it. So, save settings. Okay, so that's that one. So let's go with confirmation. Not going to worry about that right now. So notifications. So again, you'll have your admin notification. This is the one that gets sent to me. So you from name, just going to leave that as is. No reply at email.wiscweb.wisc.edu. Reply to would be the email field that's in there. New submission, all that stuff. Sorry, this one I'm kind of just blasting through because this is the one that you get that's pretty straightforward. Notifications. So I would add new. And so here's where I was going to talk about that whole like, what do they choose when if they're staying or not? So let's see, user notification. Let's see, submitter notification, staying in Madison. Select field, email from name, Goins from email. No reply. You reply to on carbon subject. Hey, you're staying in Madison for the big conference. Here are some interesting things to do around Madison while you're here. And so what I could do is put a whole bunch of information in there, enable conditional logic, and send this only if "Are you staying in Madison for both days?" is set to yes. So update notification. There we go. Add new. Submitter notification. Not staying in Madison. Select field, email. Oh, subjects. Stuff. Hey, hi. Not staying in Madison. Send this one if "Are you staying in Madison for both days?" is no. Update notification. All right. So one other thing that I could do with these notifications, I'm going to click add new just to show you this one. And this is actually one that housing uses because of the fact that housing has a lot of different people who are responsible for a lot of different areas when it comes to housing on campus. So let's call this one person is interested in grapes. And I'm going to configure this routing. So I'm going to send it to jenna.flinner@wisc.edu if area of interest is grapes. And then so on down the line. It's from Matt Goins, from email, reply at, actually it would be first name, last name, no reply at email.wisc.edu. Reply to email address, blank carbon subject, conference attendee interested in grapes. All fields. So now it will only send this notification if somebody selects grapes in the checkboxes. So let's update that notification. I just did a whole lot of things and my brain's like going through like, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? All right, notifications. Admin notification comes to me. Submitter goes if the person stays there. That one works. This one goes to that one there. Okay, so let's go out to pages. Oh, I'm already editing this page. So now I can add a content layout, one column, add the text block, add the form, update the page, view the page. Here's all this. All right, so now let's go. Bob Ross, Matt.Dorn edu address 123 nowhere street. Not confusing. Madison, Wisconsin 5371. Can never remember this. Phone number 608 555 5555. Conference details. Are you planning to attend both? Will you need lunch? Yes, feed me. Are you staying in Madison both days? Yes. I'm interested in grapes because I want this to work. Submit is not active until I consent. Click submit. Went through. All right, so here's the one that I receive based on just me being the person who receives it. So that's that. Here's the one I received based on the fact that I chose that I was staying in Madison for both days. Again, I would put in like maybe a couple of pictures, some links to some things, that kind of thing. I can't tell. I can't say whether or not Jenna received the email that I got that I said the the grapes one. Jenna, could you confirm if you've received that email from me? Um, so so that's that's pretty quick and dirty, Colleen. So yeah, so Jenna received that email because I chose grapes from the checkboxes. So that's pretty quick and dirty on creating that kind of conference reservation type thing. Um, but again, that's one of those things where we can chat and we can walk through that if you want, or you can send me some emails and we can work on it that way as well. Um, Another thing that I wanted to show that came in through email is as you are, so if I go back up to forms and I choose, let's just say the conference reservation form. When you're looking at the form, you actually have an entries option up here. And this entries option collects all of that information that is being submitted via the form that you have put on your page. So, to kind of do a little bit of come back around to some conversations we've had in the past, this right here is why we do not want you collecting sensitive or restricted data. This information is there for me to look at, for Jenna to look at, for any other admins that you have looked at from that you have worked added to your site that work on your site. This is not secure data. It can be accessed by anyone who has access to your site. So you cannot be asking for sensitive or restricted information through your phones. Now, I'm not going to go to every site that has forms set up on there and do a little, uh, you know, I just don't have the time to do that. So I'm begging you to please follow those rules. If you need that type of information from someone, create a follow up notification, create a follow up process, a business process, so that you can get that information from them somehow securely. But Gravity Forms is not a secure way. And the question comes in, well, what is a good secure way? We don't really have a good secure way to do that. If you want to know more, I encourage you to reach out to the cybersecurity team here on campus. Just send an email to help@doit.wis.edu and ask them. We don't really have a good way. So you cannot collect that data this way. So please don't. Okay. Now that I have sternly parented all of you. So one of the questions that I got was like, how can you take this information, put it into some sort of format that is sortable, etc. Well, one way to use WP data tables, if you wanted to do that, just throw it on some page that's non-indexed or private or not published. You could just use it as a draft page, and it's still pulling in that data. You can also export your entries. So if you click on import export over here on the left, you can export entries. You can also export forms. You can also import forms. So if I want to export entries from the conference reservation, I could choose that. It would ask me, what is it that I want to um, export? So I could say, select all. I definitely don't need prefix. I don't need middle since I didn't ask for it. Don't need last name suffix. Um, I don't need the consent text. Don't need the description. You know, might want the entry. This kind of thing. And then there's also conditional logic where I only want to export if the email contains wisc.edu. Maybe I only want to see the people who are UW-Madison people who are attending, that kind of thing. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, Dave, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say that. I don't know if that is actually something that cybersecurity approves. So, because like you have Qualtrics, you have Gravity Forms, you have Google Forms. There are 3 different ways that you can put something on a page. I don't know. I know for certain Gravity Forms isn't. I don't believe Google Forms is. I don't know enough about Qualtrics to say yes or no to that. So that would be one where I'd be like, get confirmation from cybersecurity before saying yes to that one. So anyways, you can also do a date range. So maybe you use this form on an annual basis. You might want it just for, July 1st, 2021 to July 31st, because that was my registration period, that kind of thing. And what it does is it downloads it into a CSV file locally. And there you have an Excel spreadsheet now that you can sort, etc. Okay, 1226. Man, I blew through a lot more than I thought I was gonna talk about, but the conference one, that's a good question to kind of go into a different thought of creating a form for that type of stuff. Um, so that's it. That's just another little Gravity Forms Learn with Matt type thing there. I think I went over any of the questions that I had written down that I wanted to. How do you create multiple notifications? How do you send notifications to different email addresses? How do you use notifications with sort of like conditional logic? How do you do conditional logic? How do you just create a form in general? I don't know. Anybody have any questions before we call it a day? Should create something to put my email address up there quick. Most of you know how to. I mean, if you're attending this, you received an email from me, so you know how to get in touch with me. But if you have questions or if you want to kind of dig into it a little bit more on forms, just drop me an email. Let me know. I'm more than happy to chat with people. I'm more than happy to do a Teams call and share screen and all that jazz. I do quite a bit of that for just in general, a lot of the troubleshooting and how to stuff that I do with folks. So don't yeah, so what Jenna said. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Um, yeah, I love tinkering. I love learning. So let's keep poking. We'll do another one of these Learn with Mats maybe next week. I have to look at what I have in my kind of like backlog of like things I want to kind of show people how to do and stuff like that. Is WP Data Tables in your canned presentation? Do I have an old one? Um, I do have one on the training page, data tables and data charts one there. So you could take a look at that one. That one was from April 30th. So, and then I'll post this one on this page as well. So we will have it there as well. So okay. Well, that's 12:28. I will call it there. Thank you all for attending and sitting through this. Hopefully you guys pulled a little bit from this and um can learn how to break some things a little bit easier. And again, as always, drop me an email. We can we can tinker. No problem. So all right, we'll call it there. Thanks everybody. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you all next week.